Thank you so much. Still in line with the syllabus, yesterday we looked at the coastal history, and it was about the rise of the Swahili culture at the coast of East Africa. Following that, we moved to the Bantu migration. Migrations and settlement is the next, but we have now chosen one group, and that is the group of the Bantu. And we are going to look at migration and settlement, but before that, we have to define who they were or part of their origins. Then after that, we shall look at the reasons for their migration. Then after that, we look at the migration and settlement, the cause, specifically the Eastern Bantu, the Western Bantu, and the Southern Tanzanian Bantu, and the coastal highland. From there, we shall look at the effects of the Bantu migration. So without wasting time, we are going to look at the origins. Somebody asked who were they. We are going to define them as a group of people who speak related languages characterized by, not with, characterized by the root word ntu. And of course this one meant something or a person. It meant something or a person. And this is quite different from the one of South Africa. The one of South Africa was ndu, to mean a person or something. And we said for the case of East Africa it is ntu, still meaning the same, a person or something, omuntu, and the other side omundu. So the ntu in South Africa becomes ndu. So that is the definition of the band. However, much as we are saying they are related, not the same. Not the same languages, much as they are related or similar. Why? We can give an example, e.g., a Muganda can understand a Munyoro with ease, while a Munyarwanda may not easily understand the Munyoro. So much as they are related with the, I mean by the word ntu, they are not necessarily the same. And this one is brought about by their dialects. Differences brought about by their dialects, the way they pronounce in pronunciation, the types of words, and many others. So that one makes them different, but when they are from the same stock, the bigger stock of the Bantu, they form about 70% of the total population of Africa. That is the composition of the Bantu. about 70% is covered by Bantu speakers. And of course, originally they were cultivators. Originally. But when they came to East Africa, they later took up pastoralism. So that's why we are saying, whoever gives a point about they were looking for pasture and water for the animals, that's out, because the animals were adopted when they reached here. So that the same thing applies to the point of overstocking. That one also is not to be mentioned, because they were original cultivators, but later took up pastoralism when they reached East Africa here. We are told that their origin is said. This word is applicable in history. Is said. Most likely, probably. You cannot use this kind of grammar in science subjects. This is history. Said to have been, because there is uncertainty, said to have been the Niger Benue or Cameroon Highlands. This is the first theory. You know, there are two theories that can explain the origins of the Bantu. The first theory is talking about them coming from the Niger Benue or Cameroon Highlands or in the Niger Delta. And that's one theory. Another theory is that said to have come from the Congo Basin, specifically the Katanga province. So these are the two theories. The first theory talks about them having come from the Cameroon Highlands, and the second one talks about them being from the Congo Basin, or specifically the Katanga province. Some of them, e.g. the Ngoni, and of course the Ngoni is the last batch of the Bantu group to arrive into East Africa. So some of them moved from their homeland, from their cradle land, could be Cameroon or Katanga province, moved from the cradle land, and by cradle we mean homeland, through Central Africa, and then to South Africa. And then South Africa, for the case of the Ngoni, from Cameroon Highlands via Central Africa into South Africa, and later into East Africa. And of course we know why. They were fleeing the wars of Shaka. Shaka was the reason that they left South Africa, or the Natal province. That one was more explained when we look at the Bantu of South Africa. But we are tracing the movement of the Ngoni, which is part of those who came to East Africa, from their original homeland, through West Central Africa, into South Africa, and later into East Africa. Yes, and of course, we are told that by 1600 AD, they had flourished in many parts of East Africa, especially the interlacustrine region, the area in between the Great Lakes of East Africa, southern Tanzania, central, and later the coast. Why? Because they were being driven out by the original inhabitants. And while at the coast, they were also driven upwards. By who? By the notorious group called the Gala. And that's why we shall see a group which later came to be known as the Coastal and Highland Bantu. Reason, they settled in the coastal areas and at the same time the highlands because of the pressures from the Gala. That is the brief account of the origins of the Bantu, or who they were. That's how we can look at that.